Just ahead on One Detroit, we're giving you another look at some of our favorite stories from this year. Coming up, Detroit artist Jonathan Harris creates a painting about critical race theory that captures the nation's attention. Plus, the chef at Sozai in Clawson explains why his restaurant offers sustainable sushi and the impact it can have on the environment. And the founders of a high-end clothing brand in Detroit talk about making the city a creative hub for fashion design. It's all coming up next on One Detroit.
From Delta Faucets to Behr Paint, Masco Corporation is proud to deliver products that enhance the way consumers all over the world experience and enjoy their living spaces. Masco, serving Michigan communities since 1929. Support for this program is provided by the Cynthia and Essa Ford Fund for Journalism at Detroit Public TV, the Kresge Foundation.
The DTE Foundation is a proud sponsor of Detroit Public TV, among the state's largest foundations committed to Michigan-focused giving. We support organizations that are doing exceptional work in our state. Visit dtefoundation.com to learn more.
Nissan Foundation, and viewers like you.
Just ahead on this week's One Detroit. As we prepare to usher in a new year, the One Detroit team is looking back at some of our favorite stories of 2022. Coming up, a painting depicting critical race theory causes quite a stir, both locally and nationally. We'll talk with the Detroit artist. Plus, a nationally acclaimed restaurant in Clawson serves up sustainable sushi as part of its mission to protect the environment. Also ahead, two Michigan sisters are doing their part to position Detroit as a future fashion hub. We'll introduce you to the founders of Deviate in this Future of Work report. So let's get started with this special Best of edition of One Detroit.
Hello, I'm Bill KUBOTA, senior producer for One Detroit. Earlier this year, I worked on a story that generated a lot of conversation about critical race theory here in Michigan and across the country. Detroit artist Jonathan Harris had curated an exhibition at the Irwin House Gallery over on West Grand Boulevard that featured a piece he called CRT. It caused quite a sensation. Take a look.
Do you think this Sharpie is too big?
December 2021 signing day for Jonathan Harris.
So how should I do it?
It's for one of his paintings, on display but not for sale. These art collectors at Noni's Sherwood Grill in Detroit want their own numbered and autographed print.
You don't have enough room for framing if you sign it
Oh,
right
no.
here.
The framer can come in here. That's why I said don't sign in the white area, sign here.
It was done this year, earlier in 2021. The name of this painting is CRT. This is a limited edition print, CRT standing for critical race theory, a topic of discussion that has permeated through our culture and our community. I think the importance of a painting like this during this time can't even be verbally expressed.
Harris, a young emerging artist, now in the national spotlight. Arts, journals, newspapers, cable TV. He'd started painting seriously just a couple years ago.
I had been drawing and painting my whole life. I never had really taken it serious. I went to school for graphic design, and I was just looking for another outlet to express myself, so I started to paint. I started painting celebrities and different people I could just Google online.
Someone told Harris celebrity paintings might not be the best path to success for an artist.
That's how I got into painting my story and things I see and was also passionate about. This is at the far left, hear no evil, the middle, see no evil, and the right, speak no evil. It's basically just telling a story about how I feel in America.
One Detroit last talked to Harris in November for his exhibition at Detroit's Irwin House Gallery.
We had been speaking with Jonathan about doing a solo exhibition of his work, and he felt that he wasn't ready to do that. I believe he was ready to do that. So he saw this as an opportunity not just for himself, but to also bring in two other emerging artists that he had met whose work he felt passionate about.
Opening night in the hallway off the main room, there was Critical Race Theory. It sold immediately. Who else knew it would go over so big at the time?
And so we are here to witness the signing of these prints by Jonathan and to further encourage him to continue exploring social political issues in his artwork. He's an artist who I feel is very, very skilled in exploring this aspect of our society.
I'm happy to be an owner of the first copy of this print, and I can't wait to frame it and hang it. So thanks a lot, Jonathan Harris, man. I really appreciate it.
Did you think it would catch on the way it did?
I didn't think that it would catch on like this. I still lack that art confidence. So I just didn't think it would catch on like this, but it's a blessing, you know. I'm just excited that, you know, the conversation is being had, especially right now.
Critical Race Theory.
A heated debate in yet another Metro Atlanta school district. Right now, parents are lining up.
The idea popped up in the news, then anti-critical race theory protests came to school boards last year.
We will take a 5-minute recess at this point.
You're teaching children to hate others because of their skin color.
Like most of America, that's when Harris learned about the CRT fight too. The painting came soon after.
And I was just talking to somebody at the show about the piece, and the person had said, you know, I see you painted Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, but why did you paint Aunt Jemima? And the person was serious.
Harriet Tubman, rendered in black and white, matching an image more of us should know about. Escaped slave, champion of the Underground Railroad, and much more.
A couple people asked me why Harriet Tubman not smiling because she in the front. It's like, you know, what was there to smile about? I'm a slave.
Hope for more awareness of Tubman. President Obama ordered her face on the U.S. $20 bill in 2016. Didn't happen under the last president, perhaps on track with our new president.
So we're exploring ways to speed up that effort, but any specifics would, of course, come from the Department of Treasury.
No action from Treasury yet.
And this road behind here is important too because this represents the road that African Americans already traveled, everything that we already went through. And that's why it's not no sun shining back there, it's not no trees, it's not nothing happy. You know, it kind of actually, you know, looks sad, like a real dreary kind of day. Just a dirt road and some dried grass. It wasn't pretty.
Fine art with a direct message. We see it conceptually, in posters, some capturing a time on canvas like Spain, 1937, or right here, right now, with critical race theory. It might bring to mind The Problem We All Live With by Norman Rockwell back in the 60s, inspired by Ruby Bridges, relevant again with concerns in some Tennessee schools about a book telling Bridges' story.
I wanted, you know, just the casual person, if you're not in the art, whatever it may be, to just look at it and it catch your attention and you have to question, hey, what's going on here? And then you say, oh, critical race theory, oh, what is that? Oh, you know, this is going on in the South right now, or slowly making its way up to the higher states.
Most of the painting, a whitewash depicting a future that stops just near the top.
So this figure right here, he represents the America trying to cover up our history.
Chronologically speaking, Harris has us now at the bottom of the canvas.
It's right here now, and eventually it's going to be here. And then in more years, it's going to be here, and then here, and then here. And then we could look up 100 years from now, or even less, and say, the talk would be, oh, you know, why do we got to teach about Harriet Tubman if we didn't have to teach about this figure? Or we didn't have to teach about Marcus Garvey? Any other historical figures that down here, or stories or things that happen, is covered up by America because it don't make their kids feel good, knowing what their ancestors were capable of. And that's not fair.
And he has distilled that whole idea of what they're trying to do in this magnificent painting.
I don't think that we're going to be done with this anytime soon, This whole critical race theory thing, it's a beast that's never going to be full. It's just going to keep going and growing and growing and growing. And years from now or generations from now, they may get up to the point and say, hey, we don't need to teach the kids about Martin Luther King or Malcolm X or Harriet Tubman. That's what this piece is about.
Hi, I'm Chris Jordan, an editor and producer for One Detroit. One of my favorite stories this year combined the art of sushi with a powerful environmental message. The story focused on Clausen's Sozai, which was named the Detroit Free Press Restaurant of the Year, and one of the country's 50 best new restaurants by Bon Appetit. It is also one of just a handful of 100% sustainable sushi restaurants in the United States. Chef Hajime Sato sat down with me to talk about the restaurant's environmental mission and why it is so crucial for the future of sushi and the planet.
I wanted to really celebrate restaurants that are bringing a perspective to an area. For Sozai specifically, it's that perspective of wanting to serve sustainable sushi.
Clausen, a small metro Detroit city with a thriving restaurant scene. During the first year of the pandemic, we followed Clausen's small businesses as they weathered the storm. But since then, a new restaurant has opened and was named the Detroit Free Press Restaurant of the Year. Sozai, run by Chef Hajime Sato, one of just a small handful of restaurants in the whole country serving sustainable sushi. I met up with Free Press food critic Lindsay Green in downtown Clausen at White Wolf Japanese Patisserie to discuss her top 10 new restaurants list and why Sozai got the top honor. Your list struck me as very unique because, as you said, all the restaurants on this list in some way are building businesses with humanitarian or environmental efforts. To make that list, restaurants had to be more than just great food.
Restaurateurs really were intentional when they launched their restaurants over the past year because I think that they saw what was needed in the industry. I think they saw that you needed to be really mindful of diversity. You needed to be really mindful of things like sustainability. They really needed to pay attention to the impact that a restaurant has on our society and on our community and on the world at large. What is interesting about Sozai is that sustainability as a pillar at the restaurant goes beyond even just his sustainable sourcing. There's also this concept of sustainability within his hiring practices. He offers benefits to his full-time employees. I mean, he offers health insurance, which is something that, you can't be sustainable if you're not creating a sustainable environment for your workers. His philosophy of going above and beyond is evident in everything that he does at Sozai.
As a sushi lover, I needed to get the Sozai experience myself. I booked a reservation at their sushi bar and showed up early to speak to Chef Sato and see him and his staff prep the kitchen for dinner service.
It is really hard to think that the sushi can be sustainable because do you eat sushi?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so what's your favorite?
See, now I feel bad to say it because I had no idea that eel is a really unsustainable fish.
How about the yellowtail? Do you like that?
Yep.
Okay,
yeah.
That's not sustainable. How about bluefin tuna? Maybe. Do you know what kind of shrimp that you eat? We are literally talking about 4 or 5 species that everybody has. That's probably 90% of the sales. I cannot use any of that. The sous chef has to make a decision of changing that. That's almost impossible. That's crazy, right? So that's why maybe 10 of the sustainable sushi place in nation at the time that I switched 13 years ago, and now it's about 10.
Wow.
So it's not really catching on.
According to Lindsay's article, the amount of sustainable seafood in American restaurants has actually decreased in recent decades, and about 34% of seafood served in America is unsustainable.
The thing that really frustrates me, that sous chef who say that, well, I have kids and maybe my kid's gonna, take over my restaurant in the future. Do you understand that within like 10, 20 years, you're not gonna get any seafood left when you're doing what you're doing? sometimes I feel like you can make a little sacrifice in your life, a little bit, right? Then that's going to change a little bit, right? Crazy guy like me changing the seafood sustainability and this like 25 seating restaurant is not going to change anything. But think about half of the entire population. That's 10% reduction on, let's say, I'm not going to eat eel all the time, but maybe I'm not going to eat it maybe 10, 20% of the time. Entire population did it, or half of the population did it. Right. That's going to basically change the entire dynamic of anything that you see.
Chef Sato's advice to sushi lovers who want to eat more sustainably?
Start with, go to the sushi bar or any kind of seafood restaurant, fishmonger. Just say, where does this fish come from, right? Why do you have this fish? Just a little something. Is it local? Is it seasonal? Whatever that is, right? That's going to change a little bit of people's mind, or saying that, okay, is this sustainable or not? Just say that. Then maybe they're going to think twice about it. Oh, maybe that's how we have to shift, right?
How much do you use more local fish or Great Lakes fish?
So we use a walleye for, we call it pure Michigan roll. And I use a smelt also from Great Lakes. At this moment, there's sort of two that I use. And of course, I like to increase that.
You also, you do more vegetarian stuff and more with vegetables than a lot of sushi places do.
One of the things that's, I guess if you go to the sushi bar, if you say you're vegan or vegetarian, then you get like just avocado and cucumber roll. We don't do that. We do a lot of pickled vegetables in the house, and we even have omakase, which is the chef's choice meal for the vegan people. So you're gonna have a lot of choices. And even if you get sashimi assortment, you get a lot of pickled vegetables. And some people don't eat it. It's like, hey, it's vegetable. And I sometimes make them eat it. Eat your freaking vegetables.
And now you mentioned the omakase, the chef's choice experience at the sushi bar. Yeah, tell me a bit about that.
I want people to experience something that you would never ever eat from the menu if it's there. And yes, used to the fried California with spicy mayonnaise. And today I might give you the sea snails. But be open-minded. You might like it. You never know what you're gonna get. And sometimes I talk to the customers, and even exactly the same omakase from the menu, I might do a touch different because I talk to the customers, maybe they like this way, maybe I can push a little bit this way. So every time it's different. That's why there's a counter space over here. That's the only time I do omakase, not at the table. I think relationships so important, especially these days. Everything's kind of internet-based and there's no human contact that much. You know, people, I think, misses that part of it in a restaurant too. It's so mechanical sometimes, right?
Right.
I'm more old school. I like to have a regular customer for life.
Hi, I'm One Detroit producer Will Glover. Throughout the year, I've hosted virtual town halls and produced reports for our Future of Work initiative. I'd like to highlight one of these stories. It's about a company named Deviate, founded by two Michigan sisters who are pushing for the state to become fashion forward in the future. I spoke with Cassidy and Kelsey Tucker in their Detroit office about why they decided to keep their successful high-end fashion business here in Michigan.
Word was fashion. You said it has a bad connotation. Why is that? What frustrates you about it, and what is being missed when people, have that perspective on it?
Yeah, I think in some settings it has a negative connotation where there isn't a level of seriousness that comes with the industry. It's a giant industry, and design. There's so many different avenues. There's manufacturing, product design, retail. There's the creative direction that goes into it. I mean, there's just so many opportunities. It's a giant industry. And I think when people think of fashion, they think of the sensationalized portions that maybe don't necessarily scream business, but fashion is a giant business. And I think it would really benefit the city to take it seriously in terms of being the future of the city, where an industry can really develop and flourish, and where we can push boundaries in the national, global industry. Detroit can be a major player. It should be a major player. We have the infrastructure here for manufacturing. We have a skilled workforce. We have super creative talent. We need to bring it all together and really take it seriously as a fashion industry hub.
How is business going? Are you doing well? Is there anything that you guys currently need that could help you expand? Is it a tough environment because you're here in Michigan? What is this outlook? What kind of things are you navigating?
The fashion industry specifically is an antiquated industry. There's a lot of notorious characteristics in terms of exclusivity, and not really being an industry that the majority of the population can participate in, whether it's unaffordable prices or gatekeepers or whatever it may be. It's an industry that is not easy to participate in. And so I think being based in Detroit, Michigan is our greatest strength and our greatest weakness at the same time. So I think it's interesting that we're able to participate in it from a city that a lot of people don't, in the external industry, don't necessarily see Detroit as a fashion city, even though we know it here. It's been here. We're a creative community. We're a hyper creative city, but that perspective isn't necessarily shared outside of Michigan. And so when we're able to say we're a Detroit-based brand, that gets people's attention, and they wonder, how are you operating there? How is it different than the rest of the industry? And that helps us a lot, I think, because it's an immediate icebreaker. It actually gets us a lot of conversations. We'll cold DM people on Instagram, and they're interested because we're different in that way, because we deviate in that way. But I think it's also really difficult too. It for sure comes with its challenges where obviously removed from a lot of the larger industry, hub like New York or LA.
What about New York, Los Angeles makes these places able to be a fashion hub that we don't have here?
I think that just the way that the mindset is of you leave Detroit and you go to New York to build your business. That's kind of what people think already is oh, I can get educated here, or I'll go to school in New York, but I'm going to stay there after and build my network there and then one day come back and have a family here. But if we had the resources and all these things that we've been talking about in this conversation, and there are so many people, creatives who are entrepreneurs, they're grinding and living off of not enough money, to live their dream. But it's without those resources and stuff here, we can all keep working towards these things, but it's without the glue to connect everyone, the resources, the pipeline, then it's people are gonna leave and they're gonna go think that they need to do that in New York and then come back here eventually. Whereas if we had that infrastructure, they could do it here and stay here.
Do you see your cohort coming here? What would get them on board?
Yeah, we actually say this to everyone we meet in New York. We're always like, you gotta come visit us, come to Detroit, come to Michigan. And actually a lot of people are interested by it, or they'll say, oh, I've been there, I haven't been there in a while. I heard that there's a lot going on, and that's kind of, but we actually are bringing people here and showing them around. And I think that's another big thing that we should probably invest more time and effort in. Really, if the fashion industry is something we want to take seriously, I think, we should. But if that is decided, I think we seriously need to think about the gatekeepers or those in the larger industry that can, help the city get to the next level and plug in and bring them here and show them all these things that are going on. Show them the industry club, fashion design industry club, working with, youth, helping them get internships at Carhartt and product design collaborations with Fortune 500 brands. And let's show them, the brands that are here making it and, showcasing their work in New York Fashion Week. Let's show them the schools that are here, the workforce that's here, all the infrastructure that's here, and just ultimately the opportunity. Fashion's looking to be, more inclusive. Fashion's looking to grow and be pushed in new boundaries, just given the climate and everything that's happened over the last couple of years. So let's be that solution. Let's do it. But we need to take it seriously, make a deliberate decision to do so, and then bring those people here. Show off what we're doing in a really meaningful way.
That will do it for this week's One Detroit. Thanks for watching. The One Detroit team wishes you and yours a wonderful start to 2023. Head to the One Detroit website for all the stories we're working on. Follow us on social media and sign up for our weekly newsletter.
From Delta Faucets to Behr Paint, Masco Corporation is proud to deliver products that enhance the way consumers all over the world experience and enjoy their living spaces. Masco, serving Michigan communities since 1929. Support for this program is provided by the Cynthia and Edsel Ford Fund for Journalism at Detroit Public TV, the Kresge Foundation.
The DTE Foundation is a proud sponsor of Detroit Public TV, among the state's largest foundations committed to Michigan-focused giving. We support organizations that are doing exceptional work in our state. Visit dtefoundation.com to learn more.
Nissan Foundation, and viewers like you.